Hey guys, Mike here. So another big week ahead of us with earnings, ton of economic data that will definitely move the markets for sure, but also some things to watch out for, which are going to be key coming up between like tomorrow going through usually December 12th is what to watch out for. And one of them is very key because I think we will see some movement in this. But also understand like this whole rally, like this isn't just in the US alone, right? I mean, even Europe is enjoying life right now. I mean, they added $1.2 trillion just in the month of November for the Euro Stock 600, which is basically the S&P for Europe. And so it's not just us, it's them as well. And also, I mean, you guys keep asking me about this. Your gold bugs are loving life. Huge moves in gold. Some people make just a ton of money in the futures and stuff trading this commodity right here. And it's in that supply zone. That supply zone goes back to, I believe it is 2012, if I'm not mistaken, right there. Actually, 2011. And so it's broke this trend line, and that's bullish. And if it breaks out of that supply zone right there, which it's never been out of, then yeah, that's super, super bullish for it. And I mean, again, this is just one of those things where I was kind of going, wow, gold and crypto and stocks and like everything else, right? Bonds. And so it's just been like this all thing rally here. And can it continue? Yes, because I believe December is the second best month and January is the best according to this chart right here. So yeah, it could absolutely continue. And people talk about that. It's also silver as well. Now the thing to watch out for is volatility, right? Right now it's suppressed, but you can see the level it's at. And this was actually a normal level. And going back to 2018, you can see it. Going all the way back to 2012, you can see it. But when you get to this level, what do you see happening throughout the last at least decade? Even in calm markets, actually you can go all the way back, I'm sorry, to 2007 as well. You see bounces, right? And those look like very small bounces because this is a weekly chart where there's actually very big bounces. And when we go up here and we add in, let's say the MACD and stuff, what are you about to get? Well, you're getting what they're going to be on the daily here is a bullish cross, okay? And again, we know this has been suppressed down for sure. But when you see these crosses in the past, you get decent moves up. And so again, there's one right there. And you go over here, and this don't look like a very big move, that little small move right there. But that's a 33% move in the VIX in a very short amount of time. This is a spike up, which means when the VIX is moving up like that, the S&P is moving down, obviously. And I'm going to come back to this chart in just a second. But with this one, which I always like to show you, you can see the VIX divided by the VIX 3-month average. We're down in that zone at the bottom, right? We were at the top up there when I showed it to you saying there might be a sell-off. We end up selling off. Now we're down in the zone again. Usually you see spikes, okay? So that is normal to happen. And when you go back to the chart we were just talking about and you add the SPY to it, again, we're not talking major moves in the S&P. We're talking about just a little bit of weakness if it happens. They pull back off this just major crazy move we've had, right? And so that don't look like much. But again, 4%, right, in a matter of a few days right there. You go up to another example right here. And what I'm saying is just be aware, because I'm pretty sure what's going to happen, as you can imagine, the dips are going to get bought up, right? The dips are going to get bought up if this happens. If you're going to see weakness, it's going to be in this first 10 to 12 days for sure. And so, especially when you're seeing how things are aligning, and I'll show you some other things on some charts here, with your VIX, I mean, again, that's a 2% move, right? So if it's 2% move in the index, the stocks are down way more than that. And what have we seen recently? As soon as there's a red day, it gets bought up. We go green the next day. And so these dips right now have been getting bought up. But pay close attention to this right here. And guys, before we continue, if you're getting anything out of this, please hit that thumbs up down there. I really appreciate it. And if you like the material here and the videos, think about subscribing. And that's these charts right here. Because, look where the VIX is lined up. Look where the indexes are lined up. You're just setting at some major resistance, right? We got that 4,600. I told you that was going to be the target. I think it'd be hard to get through, but we did get there, and we did reject off of it. So now it's like, okay, you look like your MACD is overstretched. You're overbought right there. Again, does that mean it has to sell back down? No, but what's right above it? It's going to be pretty much all-time highs, and so it's only about, I think, 4% away from all-time highs right now. And when you look at it, what I'm talking about when I say if it does a small pullback, I say it just comes down that trend line back down to 45.50. And you can see there's plenty of support there now, right? And so that, when I'm saying, oh my God, it's going to crash, not one bit. I'm talking about a pullback, right? And so, again, I expect the dips to get bought up over the next 10 to 12 days if this takes place. Again, there's a lot of money still sitting on the sidelines, so we'll see. I mean, I think by now we already expect some kind of pullback, and we got a slightly one. And when you look at the Nasdaq, it's the same way, right? What's happening to it? It's weaker than the SPY now because again, it hits a major resistance level. The MAX 7 has been stalling out right now. You got that bearish MACD cross right there. Again, the RSI is kind of doing that rounding top right there with momentum slow down in that because the Magnificent 7 make up so much of a percentage of this. And again, if you just come down the trend line, because what you're trying to do is set up for that next move, right? The move into the year end, okay? And so if you want to be stronger, you come down and turn something into support to get a nice bounce. And so again, that's only 1.62%, which means the stocks will be down obviously way more than that and stuff. But in order for this to happen on either one of the indexes, right, you have to have the MAG 7, which is what this is, if you look at the top right there. And again, this is another one. It was coming into resistance, ended up getting rejected multiple times, selling off, bearish MACD cross. RSI momentum kind of stalling out right here. And we had talked about Sunday's video and we had talked about in last Sunday's video about what the MAG 7 were looking like, those big ones, right? And they were looking weak at the time. And of course, we'll get in those charts in a second, but what's going to be interesting to see if you get the beneficiary to be IWM, or is it going to get, sold off too if the other two start to sell back down? Because again, it's coming to resistance as well. It's had a gigantic move up right here. For me, I'd love to see this pull back to the 100, 200, and then bounce from there, turn something into support. But if you still see the rotation going on, you could see IWM go. And if it breaks above around 185, yeah, this thing right here is going to go to 190 pretty quick. And why could this continue? One, because you plainly see rotation, of course, but also the December is actually its second best month of the year normally. But, again, we'll see if this seasonality chart actually plays out or not. Now, the other one is the Dow, which, look how overbought the Dow is. I mean, this is not a tech, type index, but I mean, it's just gone just straight up, almost like parabolic right here. And then, again, that's all-time high. So it will probably be the first index to reach all-time highs, right? After setting all-time highs in the end of 2021, that was right there. And so I never thought the Dow would be the first one to reach it, but it looks like that's going to be the case. I mean, it's only like, what is that, like 1.5% away or something from all-time highs. So, it's another one to watch because, again, transports, all these other stocks that were just hammered and beat down are breaking out. And you can see if we draw this trend line, we've had, 4 touches on it. This is broken right above that trend line right there. It looks like it's trying to turn it into support. And if we I'm just going to get rid of like a bunch of these different trend lines right here because I don't think we're going to need them. But if you look at this and go to a shorter term time frame, you can see it's setting right on this support line right here. And I apologize if there's rain in the background, but it's starting to rain here in Florida where I'm at. And, going into the MAG 7 now and looking at this, you can see we got Tesla, right? Tesla has all kinds of stuff going on. You see I got those prior day highs, prior day lows marked out. You got that 4-hour fair value gap, which could draw it up. You got 30-minute fair value gap if it comes down. And between 231 and 234 has just been absolute great support for this thing going back to November 13th. You can see when it comes in here, it's only fell through it one time. But each time it comes down, that dip is getting bought right back up, right? And you see prior week's high is like 6% above where we're at right now, which is a pretty big move for any mega cap. So again, just watch the call options flow. It could hit if it does that. If it don't have a lot of call options flow, you can forget about it going 6% for sure. And again, we're still kind of getting past this, Cybertruck deal, but no, and that's that trend line I'm talking about up here. And so, which is actually the prior week high off that false breakout is up there. But again, what are we doing? We're just wedging. I know it sounds like a broken record, but that's all we're doing. And when it finally decides to break, it will be a big move, up or down, whichever way it decides to go. That is for sure. You can bet that. You look at the moving averages, add a minute here, 200 is below that trend line. So don't think that's going to come into play this week for sure. But you got the 50 right there, and then the 100 is right above that 4-hour fair value gap, which it could be drawn on and stuff. So we'll see which way this wants to move this week coming up. Put in the comments what you think. Now, NVIDIA, another MAG 7, and we talked about this double top. I don't expect it to play out, but, you saw the weakness, right? And the reason I don't expect it to play out because you got the 50 and the 100 right there, okay? If we pull up our VRVP, our volume profile right here, you can see support's going to be right there as well. Really good support for this. And so if the weakness does continue for this one, could be looking at 456. I mean, you can see, obviously, you already got your bearish MACD cross. The RSI, though, is the one thing to watch out for because it's sitting right at that 50 line. If it breaks below the 50, you can see what happened in the prior 2 times it's done this. It kept that sell-off going. That is a bearish thing to see. And the one thing to look out for this is, according to a seasonality chart right here, you can see December is not a good month. It's actually like one of the worst months or the worst month for NVIDIA. So that's why you can see selling pressure to continue before you start to get your rally back up. And again, that's going to affect all the other semiconductor stocks, which will affect the NASDAQ the most if that happens. Netflix, another one. We talked about this double top last Sundays, continue to sell down. But again, don't expect it to play out. All right, you got your bearish MACD cross. The RSI finally started to come down after being overbought for a long time. But again, you got plenty of support right here with that trend line that goes pretty far back, which is held many, many times. And so I expect if that's going to happen, maybe what, 435, 436, somewhere in there is where you're going to find support if the weakness continues over the next like 5 to 10 days in this one. And I expect it just to be really choppy. I think when you see it, we talk about a move, we're talking about a lot of choppiness, okay, up and down. Again, though, if it doesn't and it starts to go back up, man, once it gets past that level right there, that's all-time highs to the left. That's another fair value gap it'll draw into, so that thing will be gone once it finally starts to move back up. Now, the stocks to watch out for, because they've had such big moves, and if there's any pullbacks, I'm expecting dip buyers to come in, are going to be any of your software stocks, your cybersecurity stocks. Don't worry about the Chinese stocks right there. I mean, they just seem to be a hot mess. Eventually, you would think a lot of them would turn, especially Bob and stuff. And I know a lot of people are buying at this level because they believe that. Also, your fintech stocks. I mean, these stocks have just been crushing it, right? Because of, your Black Fridays, your Black Mondays, and everything else that's going on in this economy and stuff. But, eventually, yes, you have to get some form of pullback, some form of consolidation. This is the way the market moves. And let's see if the dips get bought up. Now, your earnings, there's going to be some fan faves out there for sure. I mean, you'll have a NEO. You're going to end up with AutoZone, and then in the afternoon, Sentinel One, Toll Brothers, Dave & Buster's, Stitch Fix. Wednesday, you're going to get a lot more retailers. Campbell Soup will also be on there, but then you'll have C3AI. So you're talking about an AI stock here. GameStop, Chewy, which I think GameStop had like a huge move or something the other day. ChargePoint, and then on Thursday, a lot more retailers, but Dollar General will definitely be under the microscope because it's had a big move up, and so that will not surprise me one bit. And then, of course, you'll end up with Broadcom, Lululemon, DocuSign, RH is another one. And then as far as the economic data, nothing on Monday that should affect anything. When you go into Tuesday, you'll end up with S&P Global Composite PMI. So people are going to pay attention to that. Talking about services as well. ISM data out the wazoo with services, with employment, new orders. PMI is a big one. Then you're going to get that JOLTS job openings, JOLTS job quits going on Tuesday right there. That's after the market opens up, by the way. I don't think we'll have a problem with the 42-day bill auction, but you don't know. Wednesday, December 6th, then you're going to get ADP employment change. Remember, there's usually a big contradiction between those two employment reports. So let's see how the market's going to react to those. And then, of course, you'll end up getting a bunch of oil data, which honestly, I don't think anybody's going to care. 17-week bill auction at 11:30. And then Thursday, you're going to end up with your jobs data, which really hadn't been affecting the market that much. And then, of course, you're going to have a lot of different bill auctions taking place there mid-afternoon. And then Friday, that's when you're going to have a lot of stuff with the average hourly earnings coming out, average hourly wages, all the payroll data, non-farm payrolls, participation rate. More importantly, though, we finally get to see the unemployment rate. Again, they're expecting to stay the same. So as long as that happens, hey, we got jobs, right? Now, you also, last year, have Michigan consumer sentiment, which I assume is going to be up because the market has been up and everybody seems to think there's going to be a soft landing. And so, again, we got to watch and see because there will be a shift at some point in time. If the economic news is really good, does the market go, great, that means there's going to be a soft landing, or they go, oh no, and yield spikes, they go, they might have to go ahead and raise rates again, in that crazy mess. Because remember, they got, I think, a rate cut already set for March or something priced in, like 3 other cuts this year and stuff like that. So, if the Fed plans on cutting just out of the goodness of their hearts, then I guess it'll happen. But again, or if we do hit 2%, CPI, and they go, okay, mission done, let's cut some rates, then they'll cut rates and stuff. So, but again, that's what's factored in. That's what you're seeing a lot of this stuff. That's why you're seeing a lot of housing stocks and all that stuff just going crazy, because what's happening to mortgage rates every week, going down, going down, going down, right? And so, and even the prices in some areas are dropping quite a bit. So, and I'm gonna get into that probably. I'll do it tomorrow, the next day, because I'm kind of tired of seeing certain things out there. Just, to me, they just aren't true. And again, I'll get your opinion on it, see what you think and stuff. So anyway, another big week ahead. I think it's going to be a very volatile week. Is going to be my guess for sure. A lot of big swings intraday, and so we'll see how it goes. Put in the comments what you think and how you think the next probably a week or two is going to go. I'm just curious. And if you're still betting on a Christmas rally or not. So I always like your input. So anyway, hit the like and subscribe button if you got anything out of it. Thank you for all who watch, and I'll see you tomorrow.